فاستمسك بالذي أوحي إليك إنك على صراط مستقيم وإنه لذكر لك ولقومك.
Welcome everyone to this new analytical reading in the article of the Arab thinker and writer Ali Muhammad al-Shurafa al-Hamadi. Today, we will dive together into a truly exceptional topic. We are talking about a real paradigm shift, how to transition from the conflicts of history and politics to much broader horizons, the horizons of comprehensive human mercy. The idea here is to explore the essence of ta'aruf, mutual acquaintance and understanding, in the Holy Quran, and how sacred texts can serve as a strong bridge for communication rather than a trench of separation. Believe me, understanding these concepts is the magic key to building societies capable of coexisting in peace. In this explanation, we rely primarily on a profound and pioneering vision presented by the researcher Professor Ali Muhammad al-Shurafa al-Hamadi, founder of the Global Message of Peace Foundation and author of the book The Quran Testifies to the Validity of the Christian Creed. Through this wonderful book, we will find ourselves before an approach that returns us to our true roots. This book offers a solid reference framework and provides us with an inevitable alternative to the discourse of hatred and intolerance that has exhausted our world. All right, let's take a quick look at our plan for today. We will go through 6 main milestones. First, the message of peace. Second, the status of Christ and Mary. Third, the essence of righteousness, bir, and justice, adl. Fourth, freedom of belief. Fifth, the philosophy of mutual acquaintance, ta'aruf. And finally, how global peace is achieved in reality. Let's begin. Section 1. The message of peace. Or, more precisely, returning to the original divine intent. Right here lies the problem. Note this strange paradox. On one hand, we have the remnants of history and political and sectarian conflicts, which have unfortunately completely distorted the vision and created unjustified enmities. On the other hand, there emerges the reality of the Quranic discourse, which came primarily to unite humanity. That means the problem has never been in the texts themselves, but in the politicized readings that exploited religion to divide people. The original text, as we shall see, clearly and undeniably calls for unity. Section 2. The status of Christ and Mary. How this text builds a solid bridge of understanding. When we contemplate the texts, the extent of the Quran's honoring of Christ and Mary becomes crystal clear. The Quran describes Christ with very great descriptions. He is a word from God, a spirit from Him, a noble messenger, highly honored in this world and the hereafter, and supported by the Holy Spirit. The core point we must realize here is that the honoring of Christ in the Holy Quran is not merely a passing political courtesy or an attempt to bring people closer at the expense of faith. No, never. This is an established textual reality and a deep recognition that demands mutual respect, which no fair-minded person can ignore. To prove this, let us read this direct text together. And we sent, following in their footsteps, Jesus, the Son of Mary, and we gave him the gospel, in which was guidance and light. These wonderful words prove conclusively that the original text recognizes the gospel as a true source of guidance and light. Here, the Quranic mercy toward Christ and Mary is manifested with amazing clarity, confirming to us the sacred status of Christ and Mary as an integral part of the divine light that extends across the ages. What is truly astonishing in this text is that it completely erases the idea of pre-existing hostility from its roots. The text says, "And you will find the nearest of them in affection to the believers, those who say, 'We are Christians.'" Imagine, the discourse here does not start with rejection or exclusion. Rather, it begins with deep praise and sincere affection, linking this affection to humility and the presence of priests and monks, all of this to establish a relationship based on love and spiritual closeness among human beings. This is truly inspiring. Section 3. The essence of righteousness, bir, and justice, adl, or let's call them the rules of human interaction. When we search into the concept of bir, righteousness, and its human dimensions, we discover that it goes far beyond mere ordinary or passive tolerance. Bir here is a massive umbrella that encompasses absolute benevolence, ihsan, mercy, and good treatment of everyone, regardless of any affiliations. The text demands proactive behavior from us, meaning that we must initiate doing good, and this is exactly what embodies the essence of human righteousness and mercy. Through understanding the dimensions of mercy in the Holy Quran, we realize that mercy is not an exception, but rather the fundamental rule that must govern all our dealings. This rule is embodied in its strongest form in this text. God does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion, that you should be righteous toward them and act justly toward them. The civilizational foundation here is truly spectacular. It establishes that a human being must be treated based on their morality and commitment to peace, not solely based on their religious identity. It is an explicit call to righteousness, bir, and justice, kist, as the only two criteria for building peaceful and stable relationships. And let's talk a little about justice, adl, in the Holy Quran. Justice here is an absolute right guaranteed to everyone without any exceptions. The text lays down a very strict rule. And let not the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. In simple terms, even if there is a dispute or hatred toward a specific group, this can never be a justification for injustice. Never. This single rule alone possesses extraordinary power, capable of ending all forms of hateful fanaticism that tear our societies apart. Section 4. Freedom of belief, which is certainly the foundation for any true faith. Let us contemplate this short and very decisive sentence. There is no compulsion in religion. This declaration, quite simply, represents a real revolution in the history of human rights. It confirms conclusively that forcing or using strength to impose any belief completely contradicts the core divine intent. Freedom here is not merely a secondary option that can be overlooked, but is the first and essential condition for the validity of belief itself. For this very reason, true faith can only grow in the fertile soil of internal conviction, awareness, and deep contemplation. It is impossible for faith to be born under the pressure of the sword or coercion. The human conscience always needs a space of freedom to choose and breathe. This, unfortunately, radically contradicts the erroneous historical uses of authority that have long distorted the essence of religion throughout the ages. Section 5. The philosophy of mutual acquaintance, ta'aruf. The beating heart of human connection. The critical and decisive point is clearly manifested in this great text. And we made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Right here we discover the reality of ta'aruf, mutual acquaintance, in the Holy Quran, and we truly understand the philosophy of mutual acquaintance between nations. Differences and diversity among us as humans have never been a mistake or a passing coincidence. Rather, they are a deliberate and precise divine design. Its purpose is not strife or conflict, but quite the contrary. Its purpose is connection and building bridges through human acquaintance between peoples. But what exactly are the dimensions of mutual acquaintance in the Holy Quran? It is something much greater than just knowing each other's names or nations. It is a profound philosophy that means the full realization of our shared humanity and respecting the dignity of every human being. If we ask, how does mutual acquaintance build human peace, or how is human acquaintance achieved? The answer lies in this active, positive movement that rescues us from the shell of narrow identity and takes us into the spaciousness of joint cooperation for the good of all humanity. Section 6. Achieving Global Peace, or how we expand the scope of this great vision to include the entire world. In our world today, a world exhausted by hatred, wars, and crises, we are truly in dire need of returning to a discourse that restores to human beings their dignity and violated humanity. A discourse that addresses the human conscience before asking about identity. Here we fully realize why the Quran calls for peace and how the Quran builds global peace, simply by making religion an active and effective means to revive consciences, instead of using it as a spark to ignite conflicts. This shows us with truth and certainty how the Quran achieves peace. To realize this vision on the ground, we have sequential, practical steps for peace building. Let's review them. Step 1. Correction of thought. And this happens through removing all remnants and accumulated political biases. Step 2. Direct return to the pure divine text, far from any historical intermediaries. Step 3. Adopting and implementing comprehensive human brotherhood. This is, frankly, an integrated practical plan to dismantle any fanaticism. These practical steps culminate in a bright future vision that directly answers the most important question: how do we achieve global peace? It is achieved by building a society governed by high values, a society where people compete in righteousness, bir, and benevolence, ihsan, where differences are managed with the highest levels of politeness and respect, and where wise dialogue is adopted as a permanent alternative to conflict. All of this establishes permanent security and justice as an inevitable and natural consequence of applying this wonderful philosophy. Conclusion. In conclusion, we leave everyone with this open-ended question for deep reflection and contemplation. How can we, as all of humanity with all this rich diversity, apply the philosophy of mutual acquaintance collectively and effectively so that we can truly build a more just and merciful world? Today, the answer begins with knowledge and continues through real, serious action. Thank you for accompanying us in this analytical reading, and we hope these ideas have illuminated a new space for reflection. Goodbye.